connected, and yeah. Hello and welcome to the English live stream, the live stream that will help you improve your English and take it to the next level. My name's Craig. If this is your first time watching, I'm from the website mansioningles.com and from the podcast inglespodcast.com, where you can listen and study for free. And coming up in April, another course, well, more than one course for conversation English. So if you want to improve your speaking, go to the website englishcraig.com. You'll find information there. Contact me for a free consultation, and I'll tell you the details and the dates of April's courses for speaking practice. And with me today, over there, my good friend Lynn, who's joining us today. Hello, Lynn. How you
Hello,
doing?
Craig. I'm doing really well, actually. Had a
Good
nice
to see you.
break over fire, so it was really nice. And I'm raring to go. Yeah. And if for people who are watching, if it's the first time you're watching, my name's Lynn. My business is called putitlikethis.com, and I'm an online teacher, and I specialize in creating tailor-made courses for you to help you try to find your own voice in English, to do the kind of things that you really need to do in English. Most of my classes are not group classes. Most of my classes are one-to-one classes. So if you're interested, you can go to my website and putitlikethis.com, and you'll be able to find out more information about my courses. Mm-hmm.
Very good. Putitlikethis.com. Now, if this is your first time watching, please say hello, say hi, write your name in the chat, tell us where you're from, where you're watching from. And as we go through our questions and our vocabulary, if you have any questions and you want clarification or more explanation or more examples, just write a question in the chat and we'll be more than happy to answer it for you.
Mm-hmm.
Lynn, what's today's topic?
Well, today we thought we would talk about the movies, because let's talk about the movies. And I think I was just saying to Craig, we actually had forgotten, hadn't we? But 3 years ago, we also, if you look in the archives of the YouTube channels, you'll see that we did do a live stream on films about 3 years ago. But we did a lot of vocabulary on that one. And today, I want to talk about, or to try to chat about, talking about the movies in general, because I think all cultures around the world have cinemas and movies. It's like it's a shared cultural pastime, I think, isn't it, with all cultures around the world.
Definitely.
And of course, the movies is also a great way, if you're trying to improve your English. If you listen and expose yourself to English, you can do that through movies. So we're going to talk a lot about movies today, why we watch them, why we like them, and why they're so, it's sort of because it is a shared cultural thing around the world. It must be something very intrinsic to us as humans, that we like watching the movies so much. So hopefully we'll talk about that a little bit.
It's very good timing as well, because we've just had the Oscars. Many people watch the Oscars. People have been commenting about who won, who didn't win. And on the topic of using movies and TV series, but mainly movies, to improve your English, one question I'm often asked, and I'm sure you are as well, Lynn, is should I watch movies with subtitles in my language or subtitles in English or dubbed? How should people, or how should students watch movies in order to improve their English? What do you think? What do you usually say?
Well, I know my answer, but I do have to say for everybody watching, I think you have to experiment for yourselves because just earlier this year, I was doing a group course with a group of English teachers, and it was a very intensely debated question, this, because there were some teachers who were like really, really sure that it was important not to have any subtitles at all. And there were other teachers who thought yes. So there's a lot of disagreement about this. My personal position in the thing that I advise my students to do is to watch movies with subtitles in English. And I have a reason for that. It's because when I had my children are bilingual, and when they were growing up in Spain, I used to put English movies on them for them. Well, the television was only in English. We only put English videos on and English movies because, of course, living in Spain, they were surrounded by Spanish, but they only had me as a model for English. So I wanted to expose them to more English. And because my husband is Spanish, he preferred to watch the movies with English subtitles because it was very strenuous for him in the evening to come home and then to concentrate on English.
So
So
in English, but with English subtitles.
English. So we used to put the English subtitles on for my husband because it was just a bit more relaxing for him to do that because he wasn't really learning English as such. And so we got into the habit of a family of watching English movies with English subtitles, and I still do it today. And there was an unexpected knock-on effect. There was an unexpected effect. And the effect was that our children learned an awful lot of English because of the English subtitles. Their spelling was brilliant. And they were very, very good readers in English. And it was because, of course, everybody's eyes, you wander to the subtitles at some point. And I think it has advantages for two things, because there's a lot of words in English that are not pronounced the way they are spelt. And when you read the word and you hear it at the same time, even though you're not aware of it, your brain somehow subconsciously makes the connection between the spelling and the pronunciation. And I think over time, with a lot of exposure, it improves your own pronunciation because you know what the word sounds like. And
so you make that connection between what you're hearing and what you're reading.
And what you're reading, which, because English is not phonetic, that's very difficult. Sometimes if you see a word, you have no idea how to pronounce it.
Right.
And sometimes you speak words and you have no idea how to spell them. So that's a very good thing that's happening in the background without you realizing it. And it really worked for my daughters. And then the other thing that I think is very helpful is that, of course, it's not an exam to watch a movie. You're not trying to pass an exam. And when you have the subtitles, you become aware of the things that you acoustically didn't catch. And probably you didn't catch them because of the rhythm of English or the way that we weaken the pronunciation. And when you're reading the subtitles, of course, again, you are made aware of the things that you didn't actually physically hear the first time round. And over time, this is all a process over a lot of exposure and a lot of time. But over time, I think it's only a win-win situation to watch movies with subtitles because you increase your vocabulary and you increase your listening and your pronunciation ability over time. Of course, it's not an exam. It's not like what happens in an exam. In an exam, you don't get subtitles and you have to listen and understand.
Yeah.
But watching movies should be a pleasurable thing. So I think it's not an exam. That's
True.
my opinion. What do you think, Craig?
Well, I agree with some of what you said. Just let me say hi to people who are commenting here. Alvarado's here from Guatemala. Welcome. Miriam, hello.
Mhm.
Marlene, you're back in Italy, I'm guessing. So, Italy, of course, a country with a rich history of cinema, Fellini and
Mhm.
many other fine directors. Ignacio, hello, from Jaén. And Ignacio says in Spain, it's difficult to find subtitles in English, only in
Mhm.
some films and documentaries. Most of the occasions, the subtitles are in Spanish.
Mhm.
Yeah, it depends what system you've got. If you're watching on Netflix or on your movie star, whatever system you've got at home to watch TV, most YouTube videos have CC subtitles. They're not always accurate, but
Mhm.
maybe 90% accurate. So YouTube could be a place, but of course, you're not going to watch the
Uh-huh.
latest movies on
I think
YouTube.
that the streaming services do tend to have English subtitles,
If
but
you
not
pay for them, yeah.
always. Uh-huh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but not always. So I agree with most of what you said. I tell you what I don't think is a good idea, and I don't think it's a good idea to watch with English audio and Spanish
Yeah.
subtitles or subtitles in your language,
Mhm.
because people don't usually listen and read and have that information go into their heads at the same time. And
Mm-mm.
if you've ever seen somebody give a PowerPoint presentation with lots of text and they keep
Mhm.
speaking, either you're listening to them or you're reading. You're not
Mhm.
usually doing both. And
Yeah.
when you're reading in your language, you're probably switching off the audio. So
Mhm.
you're not listening
Mhm.
to the English, you're just reading your language. So
Mhm.
if you are a lower level, I'd suggest watching the film in your language first. And
Mhm.
after watch it in English, you know what's going to happen and you could enjoy the film because it's not dubbed. You're enjoying it in its original version if the
Mhm.
English speakers are famous actors, and you can follow the story because you've watched it before in your language. However, if you have a good level, intermediate or above, as you were saying, Lynn, I'd say watch it in English with English subtitles, and of course, if you're very high level, just watch it in English.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah, but I agree with you, Craig. I don't think it's a good idea to do a mixture of the languages because there are some people who are simultaneous translators. And that is a very, very difficult skill. Simultaneous translators, there's not many of them in the world, and they can't work for very long periods. They usually have a break, don't they, of about like they work for half an hour, I think, and have another break for half an hour,
Yeah.
because it's an extremely difficult intellectual, mental skill to translate from one language directly into the other one simultaneously. And if you're doing that with the subtitles in one language and the audio in another, it's kind of like that. And
Yeah.
that's a very difficult thing for the brain to
your
handle.
your
It's too much
brain your
multitasking.
brain ends up like scrambled eggs after that, I think.
Mhm.
Marlene is still in Malta. Oh, you're back here with us, you mean, not back in Italy.
Yeah.
Okay, I
Yeah.
understand.
Uh-huh.
And Dimitri, hello to you.
Mhm.
Friend of mine, Dimitri, and Augustin. Good to see you
Mhm.
here as well, Augustin. It's been a long time.
Great.
Thanks for joining. It's good to have you.
Mhm.
So, what else do we have here connected to movies?
Well, we wanted to start by asking
Genres.
about the genres. Now, that's
Genres.
a very funny word. It's one of those words in English that has come from French.
Yeah.
And so we try as English people to pronounce it in a French way. And the pronunciation is genre. Genre. Is that how you say it? That's how I say it. Craig, do you say
What do I
genre?
say? I say genre.
Genre.
Genre. Yeah, same as
Genre.
you. Genre.
So we try to pronounce it like, but we don't say genre. No, we say
No,
genre. Uh-huh.
genre.
So, so this is our first question for everybody. What is your favorite film genre? And genre, obviously, for those if you don't know, genre means type of movies. Uh-huh. And how many
Category.
category? Uh-huh. And how many different genres can you actually think of? And I have a little trick at the end because recently one of my a colleague of mine, really, because she's a fellow teacher. She's a colleague of ours, Craig.
Yeah.
And I've been discussing a lot of stuff with Anna about films because she's a specialist in audiovisual, and she might be watching tonight. I don't know. But
Hello, Anna, if you're watching. Good to
if you're
see you.
watching, hi, Anna, because this is inspired from you. And she's been telling me all about the film genres. And here is my little spoiler for you. There are well over 90 out there. Well
Really?
over 90 genres.
That's a lot.
So here's our challenge to you. Get typing in the chat file and tell us all the types of genres that you think you can know.
Liz Luth was the first to comment. Psychological terror, like Psycho.
Wow.
Yeah, that's one.
Oh, you like that? They frighten me a little bit. It's not my favorite.
Drama?
Psychological drama. Drama. I like drama. Yeah, I like drama too. I like historical dramas a lot.
Hi, Steve. Good to see you here. Sci-fi, science fiction. Yeah, I know that's one of your favorites, Steve. Not the horror. Yeah. Notice that Steve there's put horror, not terror. If you're a Spanish speaker, it's often mistranslated from terror in Spanish to terror. No, it's horror. That's the genre, a horror movie.
And Ignacio says historical with actions, ACTIONS, action scenes, scenes SCENES, like battles, ship battles and things. I like historical action movies too.
Me too.
I like them. They are very interesting. I also like war movies. I know they can be a bit depressing.
I do. I'm surprised
but
you like
I
them.
enjoy war movies. I think it's because it kind of, especially if they're historically accurate, it's very interesting. And it always makes you think, I think, war movies.
So does Dimitri.
Yeah, look at that. Yeah, Dimitri likes war movies. War dramas, horror, comedy. So Ignacio, can you put Ignacio? Comedians. Now, okay, not with an M, but with an N. Comedians. And comedians are the people.
The funny people.
What for the genre, you would say comedy. And Tiomsi.
Tiomsi, hello, good to see you here, Tiomsi. Thanks for joining.
Has used a lovely word. This is a special word from movies, rom-coms, which is the genre of romantic comedies. And they cut the word and they made a new word, rom-coms, which is a romantic comedy. So things like Four Weddings and a Funeral is a rom-com. Love Actually is a very famous rom-com. Do you know any more?
What's her name's diary? Bridget Jones's
Diary is a rom-com. That's right. And I like them. I like the genre of rom-com.
I have to be in the mood.
Yeah, they're usually good Christmas movies, to watch on Christmas Day. What genre do you like, Craig? What's your favorite genre?
Like you, I like war movies, war films, and like Steve, I like science fiction very much, and comedies if it's a good one. But I find that many US comedies coming out of America is not my sense of humor. So a good British comedy that really connects with my cultural roots makes me laugh a lot. I like those very much. But
I think
it
those
depends what
kind
mood
of
I'm in. It depends on my mood.
I think some of them, when we were talking earlier about like movies being something that all cultures share, I think there are some genres that resonate with all cultures, like maybe horror movies or maybe war movies or historical movies. But I think comedy is one of the genres that doesn't translate well across cultures. Because, I mean, even between American comedies and British comedies, we don't really find American comedies. I mean, some of them are funny, but not all of them. I don't find all of them funny. And I'm sure for Americans, they don't find all British comedies funny. Yeah. Comedy is very culturally specific sometimes, isn't it?
It's also one of the last things you learn in a language typically. So if you are an advanced learner and you're watching an American or a British film that's funny and you're laughing, then you can pat yourself on the back because your level of English is really, really good. Marlin says that cartoons were not mentioned. Animation and cartoons is another genre. Disney, for example.
That's true, and I like a lot of those movies. I before I had children, I didn't really watch animated movies, but obviously with my kids, I've seen a lot of them. And one of my favorite movies of all time is the Shrek. You know, the Shrek series, Shrek 1, Shrek
Yep,
2. I love Shrek.
me too.
And the Minions and things like that. And now my children are grown up now, but now I quite like the animated movies. So I would go and see an animated movie now. But before I had kids, I didn't really, I used to think they were very childish. But a lot of those animated movies are made for adults as well, aren't they? They're made for adults and children, which
Yeah,
is really nice.
they very often work on two levels
2 levels, yeah.
on purpose. Ignacio's talking about it's not soup is what you drink or eat. You eat tomato soup or vegetable soup. Soap opera is, I think, what you're thinking of, Ignacio. And soap operas in Spanish telenovelas, they tend to be more TV series than movies and films.
Yeah.
Soap operas are very dramatic. They tell the story of love and romance and relationships.
And they're kind of
Soap,
mundane as well. I always think soap operas like they're series and they have different sort of episodes, but there's nothing like major really happens in a soap opera, is it? It's just sort of like the stuff of daily drama, you know?
yeah. We've been asked for recommendations of funny comedies. Liz Luth wants us to share recommendations. One of my personal favorites is actually American. I just said that sometimes I don't find them funny. The Big Lebowski is one of my favorite comedies. I'll put that in the chat for you. What's one of yours, Lynn?
I think I like the romantic comedy. So I like Bridget Jones. I like those. I like let me think, Bridget Jones, and I was thinking of another one.
Love Actually?
Love Actually is nice, but I also like About a Boy. Have you seen that one with Hugh Grant?
Hugh
About a
Grant,
Boy.
yeah. The book's very good as well.
The book's very good too, yes. So that was a one based on a book, and I liked that. I thought it was very good.
So here you've mentioned most of these. You did very, very well. You've mentioned most of these that we've got here, except maybe fantasy, historical dramas, sometimes called costume dramas because the people are wearing costumes from history, and thrillers. Western would be a movie with guns and cowboys and Indians fighting, bow and arrow, that kind of thing.
Agustina's
And
just mentioned that actually. He just came up with westerns.
so yeah, well done. You got most of them.
Yeah, great. But there are 90, and I sent the link to you. If you want to know what the 90 genres are, there is a list. Did you see that link that I sent, Craig?
I
Don't
did.
know
I'll
if you
put it
can
in the
copy
chat.
it in the chat file.
Yes.
If anybody wants to look and see what the 90 genres are of movies, there's an awful lot.
There we are. It's there.
And Dimitri has said biography movies. For that one, you need to say the adjective, Dimitri, because if you notice, we say like romantic movies. Romantic is the adjective from romance, or we say horror movies. Horror is the adjective. And here, if you make an adjective, you'd have to say biographical movies. Biographical movies.
Tricky
Great.
word. 5 syllables. Biographical. Stress the third syllable. Biographical.
Biographical. Great. Okay. So we're going to move on now to, we thought we would talk about our motivation. Like, why do we want to watch movies? Have you ever thought about it? Why do we take the time to watch movies? Maybe you guys
are you asking
in the
me or are you asking people
I'm
in the
asking
chat?
everybody, but maybe the people in the chat file can start giving us their answers while Craig thinks about it.
Good question.
Why do we take the time to watch movies? Because they take a lot of time, don't they? Because movies can be quite long.
And I've
you know.
noticed they're getting longer as well.
Mm.
Like it
Hmm.
used to be hour and a half, hour and 40 minutes. Now they're getting very long, maybe
Uh,
3 hours, 2.5, 3 hours.
Oppenheimer was really long. I think it was 3 hours. Uh-huh. Yeah.
Food for the soul, not feed. Food for the soul
Oh, that's a
is
good answer,
one.
Dimitri. Yeah. Food for the soul. Yeah. So it makes you reflect. That's true. I think I watch some movies for that too, because you kind of like sometimes you want to be, maybe you get inspired, don't you, by things that you see in the movies. Another friend just today said to me that she sometimes watches movies because she likes comparing her own life with the life in the stories.
Oh, that
And
would depress
sometimes
me because everybody in the movie has a perfect life. That would
well,
really
no,
bring
not
me
that, but that's
down.
not always. If something negative, you can say, "Oh, that happened to me too." Yeah.
Yeah.
Or so you always see people who are better than you, but you see people who are worse than you. So it's kind of it kind of relativizes you. It doesn't make it makes you feel good about yourself sometimes. Uh-huh. Um,
Procrastination.
That's a good.
That's
That's a
funny,
good.
Liz.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's funny, Liz. And for people who don't know the abbreviation that Liz has put at the end, LOL, that's a very common abbreviation in texting speak, in text speak, and it's laugh out loud, isn't it?
Hmm.
Uh-huh. So when years ago, Liz, years ago, we didn't have LOL, but we used to say ha ha. But now everybody goes lol, lol. Very nice. I like lol. Mhm.
Marlene says she watches movies to immerse herself in a new dimension and get away from the hectic routine to stop
Mhm.
time for a while, which in one word really is escapism. And that's why I
Escapism.
watch. I watch
Uh-huh.
to relax and to escape
Mhm. Mhm.
from everyday life, escapism, especially
Yeah,
with science
escapism.
fiction. Yeah.
Yeah. And relaxation, I think, is a common one too. I know when I'm very stressed, I want to sit down on the couch. This is when I'm watching movies at home, obviously, because for relaxation, going out to the movies doesn't really relax me, but watching a movie at home will relax me. And it does. You don't have to think about your own life, do you? So you just have to watch, and it's just you just consume it. Uh-huh. Hmm. Any other reasons why people watch movies? There's quite a few I was thinking of.
Maybe if you do watch them in the cinema at the cinema,
Hmm.
then it's more of a social reason. Also, if you
Hmm.
want to go out on a date romantically, you could go for dinner and a movie, or
Ah,
even
so
have
for
a date night with your
flirting.
partner for flirting,
Okay.
for going out and taking
Uh-huh.
somebody out on a first date, or even going out with your partner, your steady
Uh-huh.
partner, and going out to see a movie is
Yeah.
a nice way to. It's not the same just sitting on the couch and staying in the same home
Uh-huh.
environment as going out, putting
Yeah.
on some nice clothes, having something to eat, then going to watch a good movie. And of
Uh-huh.
course, you get the better sound, you get the better screen in the
Uh-huh.
cinema.
And also, I think it's like I like it even at home with my husband. I like watching the movies with him because I think it's kind of like a shared experience. It's like doing something with somebody together. I like watching the movies with the family, with the girls as well. And it also gives you something to talk about, doesn't it? Afterwards.
Well, yeah, but my wife and I have very, very different tastes. So she doesn't
Ah,
like
but
war films. She likes
okay.
different films. So
Hmm.
the Christmassy kind of films that I don't really like.
Uh-huh. But
Rom-coms.
if you watch those movies with other people, it does give you something to talk about because people like talk about if you say, oh, have you seen Oppenheimer or have you seen the Society of Snow and what did you think? And like movies give like a common something to talk about in the office or something to
Small
talk
talk.
about at work. Uh-huh. Yeah, it helps like it's like a shared cultural experience with the other people in society,
Mhm.
which I think is we don't realize it, but it's what creates a sense of culture in the end, that people have watched the same kind of movies.
ITBIS. I'm not sure what that is. Do you know, Lynn? It's a good
I think
idea
it's
to
just that the
relax.
B has appeared by accident. I think she wanted to say it is a good idea to relax.
Ah, okay.
Maybe,
Yeah,
maybe.
possibly. Can you
I don't
clarify that,
know.
Alvarado, what you mean there?
Susan, yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's a good idea to relax.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say take a relax, maybe take a break, perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
but relax doesn't collocate with take. So
Mm-hmm.
to relax at least once a week, or to take a break once a week.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay,
And there's
let's.
another
Mhm.
reason to watch movies, which
Oh,
I
you had
know
some
that
more. Yeah, tell us.
we had some more. Another reason that some people watch movies, definitely our colleague Anna, she watches movies because some people, like I've discovered with Anna, that movies are indeed a lovely art form. And when you actually look behind what happens in a movie, there is so much to appreciate about a movie. The way the
If it's well
cameras were,
made.
if it's well made, but even if it isn't well made, but there's a lot that you can watch and understand and figure out, not just about the plot, because I think the first time you watch a movie, and for me, the natural way to watch a movie is you're just trying to follow the action and figure out what's happening. Uh-huh. That's the way I normally watch movies. But since I've been discussing the whole concept of movies with Anna so much, it's sort of demystified it, and then I've suddenly decided you suddenly see the whole movie as like a work of art. It's
Mhm.
like a piece of music. Well, I mean, music is part of movies too. And there's so many interesting things that you can look at in a movie. And I know that Anna, very rare, like now she says she just watches movies because she's constantly like figuring out all the different tricks that the director has used, the way the special effects have been done, the way the script has been written, the way the lighting is, the way the colors are. There's so many things in a movie
But that could
to
be a
understand.
double-edged sword. A double-edged sword is where there's a good side and there's a bad side or a
Hmm.
negative side, because I agree 100%. And when you know to look for those kind of things, it kind of takes you out of the journey that the movie's taking you on. Because when
Hmm.
you're just watching it for enjoyment, you're not thinking about the shots, if it's a close up shot, if it's a scene setting shot, a very wide angle shot. You're not noticing how the music is playing with your emotions
Hmm.
in the film. But if you study film like Anna
Hmm.
does, then you look for those things, so you're not having the same experience,
No,
because you're
that's
kind of
true.
analyzing it as you're watching it, which is completely different.
That's completely different. But I found so far, she's got me that I watch the movie first of all to understand it and enjoy it. And then what I've been doing recently is rewatching movies.
Yeah.
And then when I'm rewatching them, I'm appreciating so much more that the first time round that I kind of missed. Uh-huh.
Another reason to watch, Liz Luth says, take a chill. I would say chill out. Use the phrasal
Chill
verb to
out.
chill
Uh-huh.
out.
Hmm.
Chill out with a good movie.
Hmm.
Uh,
And what
oh,
about the reason of watching movies that it's an alternative to books? Because I thought, really in cultural terms, it has movies kind of replaced books. I mean, before the movies existed and television and all of that, like 100 years ago or a little bit more now, maybe, the entertainment source that people had, the cultural source that people had were books.
well,
And
I've
then
got.
when the
Mm.
movies and the films and the TV started, it's an alternative, isn't it, to books? Because you can escape in books as well, and you can enjoy books as an art form, and
Okay,
you
I've
can
got a question
relax with a
for
book.
you, and I've got a question
Hmm.
for everyone watching. You mentioned before a film that we've both seen with Hugh Grant about a boy, which is based on a
Hmm.
book. Many movies and films are based on books. And have you ever watched a film after reading the book and said that film is a better interpretation or a better story than the book? Or have you always preferred the book to the film. Can you name
Mm,
one film that's better than the book? I think I can.
I can too. Uh-huh.
Okay, so shall we name the ones we're
Well,
thinking of?
Ignacio, first of all, Ignacio said there's many books and films which are worse, with an E, Ignacio, worse than the reading version. Reading, READ, reading version. I think that's true. I would agree with him. I think often a lot of the time, you read the book, you really enjoy it, and then the film is not as rich as
No,
the
it's
book.
not. It doesn't. Your imagination of how you see things when you're reading
Uh-huh.
is different to the interpretation of the director in the film.
Yeah. And sometimes there are books which are very clever with I realized this very recently because I read the latest book. Have you ever read The Hunger Games, Craig?
No, but I've seen the films.
You've seen the films, right? So The Hunger Games is a series of books. I read the books first. The books are excellent. They were it's a good book to read for learners of English, I think, because it's very exciting. The books are not too long, so they're a good size. You don't get depressed with them. And the books are quite exciting, and there's not too much specialist vocabulary in there. So they're written by Suzanne Collins, and it's a whole series, and they're very interesting books, I think. The films were made from the Hunger Games books, and I've seen the films, and the films are visually quite good too. Many people enjoyed the films. The films were well made, but then just recently, last year, she brought out a prequel book to the Hunger Games. Prequel means the one that happens before the series. And in the prequel book, we read it at Christmas, and it's very good. But it's all about the reason why one character became the way he is in the Hunger Games books, and a lot of the narrative is written from his first person, and you see this young person, and you see all the problems he has when he's growing up as a teenager, and how he thinks one way and does other things, and it's not consistent. And that was very difficult in the movie. I've watched the movie, which is also being made about this prequel, and it's completely different, and you can't get that. The director can't get those, like what do you say, when a character doesn't really know how he's behaving. He can't get that nuance in the movie. So I think it depends on the type of book as well. Some books just don't, you can't do it if the narrative is in the head of the characters.
Ignacio says that the film doesn't respect the content of the book and introduce new things far away from the book version.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very true. Although I can think of one film that's better than the book, in my opinion. Maybe
Which
you
one is that?
disagree. The Godfather.
Oh, I never read the book, so I don't know. I've only seen the films.
The books are
Uh-huh.
good. The books are good, but I think the films are so good that, yeah, definitely. I mean, I've seen The Godfather so many times, especially one and Godfather 1, Godfather 2. Mario Lucci, I think, wrote the book. I'm sure Marlene knows the author. I think he's Italian.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, the first two Godfathers are amazing films.
Uh-huh.
Can you
And
think of any more?
well, the one I'm thinking of is that it's a series. It's actually not a film, but it's a very, very famous, which is the Game of Thrones. And I saw the Game of Thrones series, and then I read the books, and I found the books at the end incredibly tedious. And the films are visually very, very well done. Yeah. So the scenes and the scenery and some of have you seen Game of Thrones? The
Yeah,
war
well,
scenes at the
yeah,
end.
the TV series.
The CV, and
Yeah.
the war scenes at the end with the battles
I actually
of
watched it
the.
twice, and the
Yeah, me.
seven.
I've watched it
Twice.
three times. Three
Really?
times. I've watched it three times, and the more I watch it, but again, now I'm analyzing it. When I see the scenes, I think it's amazing what they did with because they filmed in different locations, and some of the locations I know they filmed some of them in Cáceres. So and that's a place I go to very
Oh,
often.
right. Of course.
So
Yeah.
when I'm watching it, I'm looking out for places that I know because they use these medieval cities. Some of it was filmed in Croatia. Some of it
Yeah.
was filmed in Peniscola, which was very close to where we
Of
live.
course, of
Mhm.
course, yeah. But
So
you need that combination of very good script writing, good story, good acting, good directing, cinematography. You mentioned all of those things have to come together as they did in The Godfather, and Ignacio
yeah,
agrees with me. Miriam has a good point. She says in the book there's more information, and when you see the movie, it's not the same. By definition, if a movie is 2 hours, you really have to
yeah,
compress the story of the book into a 2 hour story, which obviously doesn't give you enough time to develop the characters, subplots, those kind of
but I
things.
think that's what I've learned though. That's where a good director with good music, good camera angles, good the way they put like a small, maybe in the book you've got like a lot of different action pieces and they decide to only include one scene of all of that in the movie because of the time constraints. But if the director gets the right one, sometimes because of the music, the camera angles, the costumes, you have encapsulated maybe 3 or 4 chapters in a book.
Yeah.
But that takes a good director, I think, with a very good eye, I think. That makes the difference between a very well done film, maybe like because The Godfather had particular music, didn't it, as well, that
Yes.
helped communicate a lot of emotion. They also had colors and they had like sort of scenery, and they also had like close-ups of the characters, and that communicates a lot of stuff that's actually written in a book if it's done well.
Augustin says he prefers books because his imagination has no budget limits. So yeah, that's true,
That's very
Augustin.
clever, Augustine.
That's
Yeah.
very clever. So when you make a movie, you only have a certain amount of money you can spend, and that is your budget. So if you spend too much more, or a lot more, you're going over budget. And of course, that doesn't happen with your imagination. You can imagine all sorts of things in your mind, and it doesn't cost you any money.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
where am I? Marlene says Twilight was an enthralling experience. That's a lovely
Nice,
collocation.
lovely collocation.
She didn't read the book, though, so she can't really compare. Twilight. Did you see that? I don't think
I'd
I've
seen
seen
that.
that.
My daughters have watched those. Twilight I think it's a vampire series,
Yeah,
isn't
is
it,
that the
Marlene?
vampires? Yeah.
Yeah, they're vampires. And I think I have read the book and I've watched the film, but I can't remember. The vampire genre is not really my cup of tea, I have to
No.
say. No, I'm not really into the vampire. Ignacio mentions the Da Vinci Code. Now, that is a very, very thick book,
Yeah,
and it's
I didn't
also
like
a
the
very
film very much.
complicated film.
I didn't enjoy the film. Wasn't it
Did
Tom
you not?
Hanks in the film?
Yeah, I like the film. I like the
No,
film. Lots of action and some
I enjoyed the
beautiful
book.
scenes as well in Italy. Uh-huh.
I enjoyed the book, but not so much the film.
Mm,
Most films don't live up to
no.
the book if it's a good book.
The one that
Um,
I was always surprised at was Harry Potter, because I've read all the Harry Potter books several times and I really love the books. And I've seen the movies, and the movies are very well done. The movies have characters that are exactly the way I imagined them. So the director and the people who created the movies, they definitely captured the feel of the books. But the problem with the films is I don't understand how anybody can understand the movies. There's so much complex plot in the books, and in the movies they can't reproduce it. So I could never understand why the movies were so popular amongst people, because I thought, how do they really understand what's going on?
I
Because in
think
the
maybe
books, the
because the
plot is
genre was
really
so
difficult.
different, we didn't
Uh-huh.
really have those kind of magical genres before. There
Mm-hmm.
weren't many, and I think it kind of broke the mold a bit. It was groundbreaking, that's the word, groundbreaking
Groundbreaking.
in the
Mm-hmm.
way it was filmed and interpreted. So maybe that was the reason. It just captured people's
Maybe the
imagination.
tension. Uh-huh. Yeah.
How do you decide which films to see? Now, you can get
Oh.
recommendations from friends, you can read reviews online, you can look at what's on at the local cinema, you can follow a particular genre, as we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
before, or you can follow particular directors' movies. I really like the Coen brothers, for example.
Ah,
Or
okay.
you could
Uh-huh.
follow different actors. So, how do you decide what film you're going to watch and what film you're not going to watch?
Mm-hmm.
If you have an opinion, write it in the chat. I know some people are watching, so let us know what you think.
Mm-hmm.
How do you decide? How do you decide, Lynn?
I think I probably from reading reviews and hearing, like on maybe chats amongst colleagues, or like, so sometimes things are advertised, aren't they, like on the news, and they say the new movie or this one's in the running for the Oscars. So
On the
I
side
kind
of
of
the
hear,
bus.
yeah, so I kind of like hear about what movies are popular, and then if I think it interests me, then probably just we decide with my family that we would go and see it. I have began to watch, because I really respect Anna and her opinions. So Anna is giving me loads of recommendations, and I'm watching quite a lot of movies. So if you find a friend who has a similar taste, I think they're good sources of recommendations. What I find really disappointing is the artificial intelligence recommendations that we get on the streaming services. So like on Netflix or on HBO, it says people who, now that you have watched this, people like you watch this. And I don't like that. And I find it quite,
But
I've
how
tried to
but
follow the
how often
recommendations
but
a
how
few
accurate
times,
are
but it
they?
doesn't work.
Are they accurate?
Well, for me, no. For me, no. But I don't know whether it's, I think the problem is they show you more of the same. But the thing I love about movies is being surprised. So if I watch a movie and it surprises me, then I think it's brilliant. So I'm not interested in watching things that are similar to the
Hmm.
things I've already watched. Do you know what I mean?
I do
And
know
I
what you
think
mean.
that's what the
So,
artificial intelligence does. It gives you the same flavors, and I kind of like get excited about seeing different things, you know?
so the algorithm is not working for you.
Yeah.
And Paloma looks at a WhatsApp film group, which is a
Ah,
good
uh-huh.
idea.
That's a good idea.
So you're
And are you
sharing.
part of that film group, Paloma, or do you just like, are you an active member of the film group? Or are you just sort of, do you just follow the threads that they give? Because that must be fun if you have if you belong to a film group. I've never belonged to a film group. A film group must be like a book club, is it? Or a podcast club? Uh-huh.
I'm trying to find a website. I think it's called Green Tomatoes that gives
Rotten
film.
Tomatoes.
Is it
Rotten
Rotten?
Tomatoes, yeah.
Let's
I
put that
read
in the chat.
reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Uh-huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
Paloma says she's an active member. That's a good idea. That's a nice thing. You probably get good recommendations there. Mm-hmm.
But you probably have to be quite a film buff to follow that. A film buff is somebody who's very, very keen on films.
Mm-hmm. Can you put that in the chat? That's a lovely word.
A film buff,
A
someone who
film
really
buff.
likes films.
Uh-huh. And a buff means you're very intelligent. You know a lot about it. You're an expert. Uh-huh.
Marlene says she follows her gut feeling, another nice expression.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the visuals inspiring. So the trailer, maybe you watch the trailer
Yeah.
and that attracts you, the film trailer.
Yeah. Uh-huh. And sometimes the film trailers are interesting, I think, as well, because there's different types of film trailers. Some film trailers make the film look very complicated, and that puts me off. If I can't understand the trailer, I don't want to watch the movie.
It puts me off.
And then there are other film trailers that tell you the entire story of the movie. It's like
So
a
why
spoiler.
why go?
So
Why
why
see
bother
it?
watching it? And that also puts me off. So you have to have a good trailer to attract my attention.
Yes, Rossa, that was a
It has to
lovely
be
film.
a little bit between.
Il Postino, that was a lovely film. That was a few years ago I saw that. Did you see The Postman?
No. What's that about?
A postman.
Oh, well, yeah, but is it a horror movie? It sounds like a
The
horror
genre,
movie, is it?
no, it's set in Italy and it's about the life of a postman. I don't remember much about the plot, to be honest, but I do remember I enjoyed it very much. And I'll be interested to see if your friend Anna critically approves of it, because I think it was a very well shot film. The pace of the film was quite slow, but sometimes if the pace goes slowly and the film draws you in and you get absorbed by the story, then that's a very, very well made and very well put together film.
Yeah, that's true.
Another recommendation by Ignacio, Kramer versus Kramer.
Kramer. And Ignacio says the reason, the comment before, he says it's the acting which makes him decide which films he'll watch. So the actors. So if it's actors that he really likes, like Robert De Niro, Dustin Hoffman, Kirk Douglas, Sophie Loren, then that would draw him to a film. Does that draw you? Do you like to watch movies with famous actors? For me, no. It doesn't do that for me.
No, because if it's a bad director, even a good actor will make a bad film.
Yeah.
And I watched one a couple of days ago. I watched half an hour of one a couple of days ago with, what's the name of that actor who was in the Bruce Willis, and one of his latest films, and unfortunately he's suffering from Alzheimer's, I think. Bruce Willis is really, and it was one of his most recent films, and it was terrible, absolutely terrible. Partly because I think he was only saying line by line, and it was probably very difficult to film him. But also the director should have done a better job. So
I think, though, with Bruce Willis, I always think his films are a bit hit and miss. That's a phrase, hit and miss. Like there have been brilliant films with Bruce Willis, like the ones, what were those terrorists? Die Hard, the first ones. But then the end of this, when they came out with Die Hard 3, Die Hard 4, Die Hard 4, they were terrible.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Yeah, and Bruce Willis has been in some movies they're called B movies, aren't they? They're like they weren't very successful. But then he's been in other movies where he's very, very good. So yeah, it's a bit hit and miss with him, I think.
If you had a job in film, would you prefer to be in front of the camera or behind it?
There's a question.
Question.
Answer in the chat file before we embarrass ourselves here.
Let us know.
When I was young, I wanted to be a film star. So I would have liked to have been in front of the camera. But since I've had my eyes opened by understanding film with Anna, now I think I would love to have a job behind the camera.
What would you do behind the camera? Cameraman, editor, script writer, makeup artist?
Well, I think like the camera shots. I'm very interested in the camera shots, the way they move, either the cameras or the sound, because I think it's amazing what they do with the sound as well in movies.
I agree. Yeah.
What about you? Would you like to be the
what do you
famous
think?
one?
No, it's easy. I mean, you know me, Lynn. What do you think?
Oh, you'd be doing sound, wouldn't you?
Cool. Well, I'd be behind the camera. I'm very, very interested
Uh-huh.
in video, in making video, but I just don't have time. It's so time
Okay.
consuming.
Uh-huh.
But I love sound. So it would be something to do with sound. Although,
Mm.
if I were 18 years old, then I would definitely study video and I would either
Mm-hmm.
edit or I would be the cameraman.
Or direct. I have to tell
That's
everybody here.
so much responsibility
But you did
directing. I
very well
mean,
on my promotional video. Craig helped me once to make a video to
yeah,
put up on
wasn't
my website, an
it wasn't
introductory video. And I was terrified. I was absolutely terrified because I'd never done anything like that before. And Craig was marvelous. He
it
like
wasn't
calmed me
exactly
down.
Hollywood though, was it? It wasn't
Well,
exactly
I thought it was quite
a
professional the way you
blockbuster.
did it all.
Dimitri said he picks movies according to its past awards and reviews, and sometimes he just follows the familiar actors who who pose themselves unchangingly throughout their life. I'm trying to see who pose themselves unchangingly throughout their life.
Throughout their lives. I think he means that he follows the actors, and really the actors, all they do is they have a like one persona, and they
Yeah.
project that all through their lives, and they have success, like maybe John Wayne, or always plays the same character, or Hugh Grant,
Jack
or
Nicholson.
Jack Nicholson, or Al Pacino.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. And I was very surprised to learn when like studying this thing with film with Anna, that in actual fact in a movie the actors are the least important of everything. And whatever the actor does, really it depends on the camera shots, the music, the editors, about how the scene is portrayed. So the actor might be acting thinking he is being sad, but in actual fact, the bit of footage that they get from filming him might be made might be put in the movie in a completely different, with a completely different focus. So in actual fact, the actors are very well, obviously they're not unimportant, but they're not the most important people in making a movie. Mm.
Okay. I think we've got time for one more question. So either I'm trying to think which one I like here. If a film were made about your life, which
Oh, I
famous
don't
actor
want that.
would you? You don't want that one. Okay,
I
let's
don't want
look.
that one. I couldn't, unless you know do you know your answer? Ask that question if you know the answer. I
I
don't know.
don't. I
No.
don't. But
No.
let's ask people who are watching, how do you see the future of cinema? Do you think AI will change the way we engage with entertainment and movies? How do you see the next 5, 10 years unfolding as far as movies and films concerned? People have said that we will be able to make our own personal tailor-made movies. At the beginning, Lynn was talking about her services, saying that she tailor makes her courses and her lessons around what you want. So it's a very personalized way of doing something. So you like, for example, rom-coms, romantic comedies, and you want Hugh Grant to be in it with Renee what's her name? Zellweger. And you want them to be in Sweden. So you write
Oh
the
God.
outline for your film, and then the AI algorithm puts those actors in your personalized film only for you.
Oh no, that would be horrible, wouldn't it? It would give you no
Would it?
inspiration in life. Well, yes, because again, it's just more of the same, you know?
But you could have the actors you want in your own personalized movie doing what you want.
Oh no, I don't think I would like that. No. I mean, I think I look to, like a lot of people said, like they want, when we were talking earlier about why do you go to the cinema, and we said we go for escapism. Yeah. Then we want to escape our own imaginations when we go to the cinema, I think. And if the AI is just producing my own imagination,
But what if
I
you were
think I
in the
would be
movie?
bored.
What if you escaped, if Lynn escaped in her own movie and you were a superhero saving humanity from the vampires that you hate and you saved everybody and you were in your own film? Wouldn't that be
But
great?
you do that anyway with movies, don't you? Because I was thinking like, because this was another question we were going to talk about, that do you ever catch yourself after watching movies that in your own life you suddenly remember a line from the movie and you transport the movie to your own life? I do that
Yeah.
all the time with Shrek, for example, with the kids. There's a line in Shrek where he goes, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" The donkey gets really annoying. And so sometimes in our family, whenever we're going somewhere and one of us is a bit impatient, then we go, "Are we there yet?" And we all know it's related to the
To the
Shrek
movie.
movie,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like we act it out, you know. And we have a few, I have a few lines like that, like we bring the movies into our own lives, and I think that way is more interesting. But for me to watch me being in a movie, nah, I don't think so.
Or bringing back dead actors you really like,
Oh,
John Wayne or Humphrey Bogart. You could put them in a movie and write a synopsis and a plot for your favorite actor or actress who is dead to be in your movie. Is another
no,
possibility, because
no.
there are so many, there's so much of John Wayne and these and
Yeah, it's
Marlene
true.
Dietrich, and there's
Hmm.
so much content there that AI could use that to
Mm,
create new movies.
hmm.
Some
Ignacio
comment.
has a good idea. He says maybe at home with AI, you could have virtual glasses and you could choose different, not finals, but endings.
Different
Endings,
endings,
Ignacio.
yeah.
Different endings. That could be fun.
Yeah, a
Because
happy ending,
sometimes
a
you get,
sad
yeah,
ending.
because sometimes you get to the end of the movie and you're really disappointed in the ending. So you can say, don't like that one. Give me an alternative.
Well, it depends. I mean, some American movies are so predictable. Then American movies always end on a happy note with a happy ending, and British
Mm.
movies, because we're so depressing and negative, we sometimes end in a bad way.
Uh-huh.
The hero dies.
Yeah.
Dimitri says
Maybe I
he'd
would
like.
like, I've just realized now, sorry, about wanting to be in a movie. You know, the kind of movie I would like to be in is like a Bollywood movie where they're all dancing and singing. I would like to be in that one.
From India.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Those
very
kind of like
happy,
musical movies, I would like to be part of that. So
singing and
if AI
dancing.
let me do that, that would be fun. Uh-huh.
Put Lynn in a Bollywood movie dancing like Fred Astaire, for example, or
Yeah. No,
Ginger
Ginger
Rogers.
Rogers. Ginger
Sorry, Ginger
Rogers. That's it.
Rogers. Lighting, Dimitri, is a very, very important part of the cinema. And if you notice, and I'm sure Anna's said this to you, Lynn, that if you notice
Hmm.
how the mood of the film is either very dark or it has a coloration on it, like The Godfather's
Yeah.
very
Hmm.
pastel and very
Uh-huh.
brown the way it's filmed.
Green
And
is science fiction, apparently. All the shades of
yeah, there
green
you
tones
go.
is to do with science fiction, like
Different
the Matrix and
filters,
stuff.
different
Uh-huh.
lighting, how to light the subject and create atmosphere. It's a very, very complicated and technical
Mm-hmm.
part of
Mm-hmm.
filmmaking.
Yeah.
And Marlene says she hopes not.
Yeah, me
She's
too, Marlene.
afraid AI will influence our choices more and more and perhaps jeopardize the spontaneity
Spontaneity. Mm-hmm.
of the movie culture. Yeah, but I'm
Mm-hmm.
looking forward to seeing what AI does to movies. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
time to
Mm-hmm.
move on and just not
Mm-hmm.
go to see a flat screen. Be nice to be in the
Mm-hmm.
middle of the movie. You are in the movie and you're wearing a headset and the movie's happening around you and you're in it. Wouldn't that be
Mm-hmm.
amazing?
Well, I don't know, because then you can't be with your girlfriend or boyfriend, can you? Having a
My
romantic date and
wife,
sharing the popcorn.
we have different genres. We don't watch the same thing. A virtual travel to space with all the equipment, says Ignacio. Yeah, why not? Let's go to
Uh-huh.
space. Okay,
Okay.
unfortunately, we have to go to a different space because we've run out of time. So we
Mm-hmm.
want to thank you all for being with us and keeping us company. It's been a lot of fun. But before we go, we'll tell you, if this is your first time watching, who we are, where we're from, and how you can get in touch with us. If you'd like to have more of Lynn, and who wouldn't, that you can contact Lynn here.
That's right. You can contact me at putitlikethis.com. I'm an online teacher, and I specialize in tailor making the courses to suit you. So I'm not giving you more of yourself. That wasn't quite true what you were saying earlier. What I normally do in my classes is I like you to try to find your own personal voice in English, because sometimes when you learn a foreign language, you don't feel that you're quite yourself. So I like to find out what kind of English you're speaking in what situations, and help to try to give you the English so that you can express the things that you really want to express, not the things that are in the textbook. So I'm the opposite of AI,
You are.
really. I'm the real deal.
You certainly are.
Okay.
So
Great.
for me, I'm Craig from mentioningles.com, where you can study English for free. And we have a podcast, which is every week at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And that will also help you improve your English. And if you want to speak and be more confident and more fluent with your spoken English, go to the website englishcraig.com, where you'll find ways to contact me for a short, free, with no obligation, 10 or 15-minute Zoom call, and I'll explain the courses to you and the dates and the times and the prices. And we start in April, the first week of April. We're starting a new month of courses. So get in touch. And thank you so much for watching. Until next time,
Yep.
go and watch a movie.
Yeah, take care. Watch a movie. Think about
Take
what we've
care.
said. Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye-bye.